Señora, el pan dulce Bimbo tiene varias ventajas. Por ejemplo, sienta su peso, confirme su rico sabor y compruebe también su precio. ¡Qué diferencia!
Soy el negrito de Bimbo, a las órdenes de usted.
Disculpa, ¿me das un autógrafo? Eres la de comercial.
¿Qué comercial?
De la leche.
Con el cariño de siempre.
BIMBO, the largest bakery in the world, a source of Mexican pride, extends its reach from the capital to every corner of the planet today. It is one of the most important and powerful corporations in the nation, a cornerstone of the basic Mexican diet, an economic champion among entrepreneurs and the political class. It created a monopoly thanks to its enormous diversity of products, affordable prices, and such vast reach that it is impossible not to find them on every corner of our streets. All thanks to the vision of its founder, Lorenzo Cerviche. Born on November 20, 1918, in Mexico City, he was the son of Juan Cerviche Torrallardona, a Spaniard of Catalan origin who emigrated from Odina, Barcelona in 1904 and worked in a family bakery, and Josefina Sandra Grimao, who arrived in Mexico in 1914. Lorenzo was the eldest of 5 siblings. In the 1920s, bread was not yet a commercialized product in Mexico and was just starting to arrive from the US. By the end of those years, his father, leveraging his experience in the field, established his own bakery called El Molino de Argentina. Lorenzo studied at the National Autonomous University of Mexico, UNAM in Spanish, graduated as a public accountant. However, his life took a turn when his father passed away on December 15, 1936, just when he was 18 years old and still attending university. The bakery El Molino became the center of family activity, where everyone collaborated in various tasks, from bread making to customer service and product distribution. Lorenzo took on the responsibility of the sales around and over time became the manager, driving the growth of the business until it was consolidated as one of the most prominent in Mexico City. Eventually, he conceived the idea of opening his own bakery with his brother, and they inaugurated Panificadora Bimbo, or Bimbo Baker in English, on December 2nd, 1945. But the story of how it became one of the most prosperous and long-lasting companies in the country is not the subject of this video. Rather, it's about how their convictions and morals protected one of the most infamous priests in Mexican modern history. His close ones say that he tends to bet without hesitation when he is convinced he's doing the right thing. His friends define him as a humanist who promotes moral values, while his critics label him as a crusader of the conservative mafia. His moral activism as a businessman began to become notable in 1993, the very year he decided to retire and hand over the reins of Bimbo to his family. Just as a Madonna concert was approaching, the first the singer will give in Mexico, Cerviche allied with civil organizations of Catholics such as Pro Vida and the National Union of Parents of Family to try to prevent this concert from taking place because the artist was considered a bad example for the youth and masturbated on stage. Some members of the Catholic groups of those years repeated in astonishment. In all those protests, although not always visibly, Lorenzo Cerviche was against certain artistic expressions, the promotion of condoms, sex education in primary schools, abortion, gay parades, and erotic scenes in TV programs. For all of that, the businessman proposed, "My brother Roberto and I have insisted a lot that we'll have to do something. But why don't we do something strong and big? The letters I receive from people have made me think that we need to do something to improve television content. We are going to convene." And they called leaders of schools, universities, and members of various Catholic organizations were invited to participate in that crusade that began in 1996. In the first meetings, it was proposed to gather 500,000 signatures. All those who supported that television should not broadcast programs that went against family values or who at least favored restricting the exhibition of scenes of sex and violence to certain hours could sign the document that the Catholic activists circulated in schools, shopping centers, and parishes. They were, they said, in favor of content that promoted principles. They gathered 4.5 million signatures and a favor de lo mejor emerged, in favor of the best, in English. The executives of Televisa and TV Azteca met with Cervici in those years. They felt his pressure and the weight of his advice, but they also felt the risk of losing one of the country's main advertisers. The talk shows and any television program deemed immoral lost popularity and most went off the air. Hasta en las mejores familias, Laura en América, Cosas de la Vida, and programs with violent content, Ciudad Desnuda and Duro y Directo. The creation of A Favor de lo Mejor opened an institutional channel for Cervici to approach the executives of electronic media with whom he held periodic meetings in the following years. However, on May 12, 1997, Canal 40, Channel 40 in English, broadcast testimonies from some former seminarians who claimed to have been sexually abused by Father Marcial Maciel, founder of the Legionaries of Christ, one of the most powerful religious orders in the world.
Poder ingresar ahí a la Legión de Cristo, que entonces se llamaba Escuela Apostólica del Sagrado Corazón de Jesús, el requisito esencial era el que fueran bonitos los niños. Y había niños de menor edad, de 10, de 11 años, de 12, como llegué yo, cumplidos. Esa fue la historia.
The program had been filmed several days earlier, and somehow, in Father Maciel's close circle, they found out that sensible statements about the legionary were going to be broadcasted. Representatives from the Catholic private university, hierarchs of the religious congregation, and finally Roberto Cervici, Lorenzo's brother, went straight to the office of the channel's director. All of them alerted the director. The spread of such testimonies will be interpreted as a disrespect to the clergy, but it was the Cervici family who issued the sternest warning. The airing of the program will cause BIMBO to withdraw its advertising. Despite that, Javier Moreno Valle decided to launch the program with the testimonies obtained by the journalist Ciro Gomez Leiva, and they made announcements to promote the filming. Gomez Leiva recounts, "It is at that moment, 10 days before the broadcast, when the companies join the pressure. Roberto Cervici warns Moreno Valle that BIMBO will not only withdraw its advertising investment from Channel 40, Canal 40, but we also promote that other companies do the same because he said, it is an attack against the church, because it is an injustice, because it is a slander, because it is a defamation." That threat became a reality. 10 companies stopped advertising and the crisis began. Ciro Gomez Leiva recalls, "The issue of the Father Maciel leads Moreno Valle a year later to sign that crazy strategic alliance agreement with TV Azteca. The channel was doing okay, but then it hit a financial slump from which it never recovered. There was a possibility of selling the channel to Clemente Serna, president of Grupo Expansión, but unfortunately an agreement was made with TV Azteca and the strategic alliance was signed." The story of the pressure from the Grupo BIMBO, or BIMBO Group in English, and the Legionaries on Canal 40 or Channel 40 in English may be the ultimate expression of the Cervici family power. In 1997, they lit a fuse that exploded 5 years later. They decisively contributed to the closure of a channel that had quickly gained a reputation for being independent. However, they did not manage to stop the transmission of the testimonies of the former legionaries, the first step of a long journey that culminated in Maciel's downfall. Sometime later, Cervici will organize a protest march against the high crime rates in the capital and the wave of kidnappings. Just a few days before it was to take place, Ciro Gomez Leiva wrote in his column for the newspaper Milenio a piece titled Si me encontrara Lorenzo, if I met Lorenzo Cervici. In that article, the journalist said he would like to talk with the businessman about the Canal 40 case and the ongoing insecurity. Shortly after, the journalist received a call from Cervici and they agreed to meet. Gomez Leiva recalls, it was a private meeting in which we basically talked about two topics. What the Maciel case had been at the time, he made his reflections. We dedicated about 20 minutes of the hour to that, and the other 40 minutes we dedicated to talking about the march he held. The writer of this book asked Gomez Leiva, but what impression did he give you as a person? A good man, he replied.
While defending a pedophile will never be justifiable, looking beyond the ideological bias of why he did the unthinkable, Cervici was known as a humanist character, someone who sought excellence in people, who wanted them to be all virtues. From the Catholic perspective, fanatism will never be productive, but that event marked Canal 40 and the very Father Maciel can be seen as a stain on the profile of the founder of BIMBO. However, it should not be enough to consider him part of the same corrupt and corrupting legacy of the Catholic Mexican Church.